it was.
Hello, and thank you very much for joining this Athens Women's Football Summit discussion. It's a very special one today, as I'm joined with the wonderful Gail Newsham, and we'll be talking about the history of women's football. I'm your moderator, Georgia Goulding of Her Football Hub, and it's great to have you with us, Gail. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Georgia, and it's lovely to meet you. I've heard so much about what you do, follow you on Twitter and Drew as well. So yeah, good to be here.
Thank you. I think we met briefly at Dr. Gary James's book launch when he wrote his incredible Manchester City women's book.
No, I couldn't make that. I was invited. I couldn't get there in the end, unfortunately. So I don't know who it was you met, but it wasn't me.
Oh, well, it was such a wonderful launch, and similar to the book that you wrote. Obviously, Gail's the author of the fantastic In a League of Their Own, focusing on Dick Kerr ladies, who are arguably the biggest pioneering women's team to have ever graced the sport, really. And I wanted you to kind of just give a brief run through of Dick Kerr ladies and their history for those who don't know too much about them, because for those of us who do know, we obviously appreciate it so much, and I'll get onto the controversial side of it shortly. But if you just give us a quick run through of Dick Kerr ladies, when they were founded and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. They were formed in Preston during the First World War. They were working in a munitions factory, Dick Kerr and Company, and they set up a football team to raise funds for the wounded soldiers. And they played the first ever match on Preston North End's ground at Deepdale on Christmas Day 1917. And 10,000 people came to watch them, which was an amazing thing for the first ever match. And they raised £600 for the wounded soldiers, which would be somewhere around £50,000 today.
Wow.
They went from strength to strength after that, spending, raising money for the, the war effort. Some of the girls had lost brothers during the war. They were phenomenal. And the biggest crowd they ever played against was on Boxing Day 1920, when 53,000 spectators came to watch them at Goodison Park, Everton, with between 10 and 14,000 locked out, unable to get in. So they really were, the true pioneers of the game. They blazed the trail for women's football throughout, the early years, up into the early 1920s, and carried on after the ban, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But they were just phenomenal players, and they had some great girls that played for them as well.
Yeah, the ban we'll talk about shortly, because that is, I still can't get my head around it, because you look at football now. And England women's are just the forefront of everything, obviously, and you've got the very young Women's Super League, which was founded not long ago. So then to track all the way back to the First World War, where people may not associate women's football with, it's history that needs to be shown, because there's so many things kind of praising the men's game and seeing, look how far they've come from this to this, all the black and white photos and stuff, but there's not enough of that with the women's football. And that's why your book is so important, and why all these things from Dick Kerr ladies is important as well. And we'll talk about the ban now. And I actually just give me 2 seconds, because I have the exact statement. So this is on the official website, and it says, complaints having been made as to the football being played by women, the council feel impelled to express their strong opinion that the game of football is quite unsuitable for females and ought not to be encouraged. And that is just...
It's amazing. When you think about all the work that they did during the war to keep the country going, let's not forget these women were the nation's hidden army. And without their input, we probably wouldn't have won the war. And they were doing every conceivable job. There were no men about, that the women had to do everything, carrying coal from the mines on their backs, working in factories, you name it, they did it. But then all of a sudden they're too delicate to play a game of football. Doesn't add up.
No, No, well, I was on with a few others the other day on a summit discussion. And I said there's one thing I remember is there was a post. I can't remember what it was on, but there was a male footballer he dived after a foul, and he was peeking through his fingers to see if the ref had seen him, and then it showed a women's player, and her face was completely bloodied. And she just got up and carried on. And it's like, how can you say, oh, women's football shouldn't be encouraged? Like, that's the line that gets me. It shouldn't be encouraged. Like, why not? Why not?
Exactly, why not? It's one of those questions that we'll never answer. But, people always say to me, where do you think the game would be if they hadn't, if they hadn't banned it? Well, and we can't answer that. But I think if they hadn't have banned it and we'd have carried on, I think we would have still needed somebody like a Billie Jean King to come along and help us get some kind of equality. I mean, because they're still fighting for it now, aren't they? The American national team are fighting for equal pay, and we still have a battle on our hands. But I don't think the Americans had 50 years to catch up with the men's game. It's been embraced as a woman's game, hasn't it? Really, because it's not been a threat. That's the difference, I think. Baseball and American football is played in America, whereas soccer was seen to be a woman's game. But in England, of course, during the ban years, it was, perceived to be a threat. And
that's sorry to interrupt you. That's what gets me is that I feel the women's national team in the US is more prominent than the men's. But then you have Brazil and England who are promoting the fact that the men's and women's national teams get paid equally. So I don't understand why it's such a big thing in the US when they make so much money. And we actually on Her Football Hub posted that when Kristen Press and Tobin Heath joined Manchester United, their shirt sales went above any of the men's in the current team after the first 3 days they joined.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, you can see the revenue if that's all you care about. If all you care about is money, you can see there's money. So why is equal pay such a problem? It's baffling.
It is. In this country, we've been brought up for generations to believe that football's not a game for women. When I was growing up, I just had to play with lads in the street or on the park. There was no female role models to look up to. There was nothing like that for us. And, to think that what we did achieve without much support, really, when I used to play in the 70s and the 80s, we did it, remarkably well, considering we had nothing. We were all self-funded and we worked hard. But it's the generation thing. I think now that we are embracing women's football in this country, in England, and it's wonderful. And kids can play it in school now. And I think that's going to be the big change for us, because in a couple of generations, we'll not be talking about the ban. It'll be part of history. We won't have to even worry about it because the kids are growing up, and it's natural. It'll be natural for boys and girls to play football together in schoolyard, whereas we were never allowed to. So I think, given a couple of generations, we'll get over it, but we still have a long way to go, because it's still, even in society now, there's a lot of people don't think women should be involved in football. So we still have some barriers to break down. And I think talking about the Dick Kerr ladies and the history, you need to educate people to make them realise that maybe they were wrong in what they thought, that women shouldn't play, and that we have got a rich history. There's no other country in the world has the history that, like the Dick Kerr ladies. So we have to embrace that and, share it and celebrate it and just say, yeah, we were great. Look how great we were. So how great can we be again, with the sport? So that's my philosophy anyway.
No, I love that, because it's there's still a long way to go, as you say. But then when you put two and two together, it's nothing like, obviously, it's like you said, that the ban will just be kind of history that is, oh, I can't believe that was a thing. But now it's like, well, I can believe it's a thing, because there's still injustice. And I've seen a lot of people describe the ban as just outright sexism. And that's what it is. It's not, there's no logic behind saying, let's just stop women playing football. There's no logical explanation for it. And now, like I said earlier, when you see, if all you care about is money, there's money in it. So it's just being difficult and sexist, and it's abhorrent. And I'm just glad now, like you said, there are female role models, because I've seen little boys with women's jerseys on, and I love that. Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of small-minded people who might say to their sons, "Oh, you're not supporting a women's player. I'll get you Ronaldo," or someone like that. So it's nice for them to have like Rapinoe or whoever on the back of their shirt. That's lovely. But I wanted to ask, because you obviously said you grew up with no real female role model. Like, what got you into football, and what made you want to carry on in it?
It's just a game I always loved. I can't remember not. I have an old black and white picture from when I was about 6 years old, and I've got my teddy bear in my hands, which I've still got today, and a football at my feet. And that's how it was. I'd rather have played, football than any other games, really. And I was always out with lads and playing on the park. And I can remember thinking how there were nothing, I had nowhere to go with it, that I loved it, and I had nowhere to go. And I can remember very vividly for the very first time seeing a women's team on the park. I think it was about 1968, which is before the ban was lifted. But Preston North End Supporters Club ladies were playing on the park, and I couldn't believe it. It was just amazing. But I was too shy, or not enough confidence to go and say, can I join in or whatever. And it was like a year or two later after that, I got to play in my first women's match for Peter Craig ladies. And it was wonderful. Nobody cared about us, nobody were bothered, but I was playing in a proper football match with other women, and we're all wearing the same kit rather than putting, your jumpers down for goalposts and things. So it was wonderful. And I loved it, but there were nowhere to go. I wish, you look back on your life sometimes, don't you? And if things had been different, you could have done that, or you could have done that. And I went on to, carried on playing. Well, and I played for Preston Rangers ultimately, and we were a good team. We really were a good team. And today, I'm certain we would have been there or thereabouts. Honestly, would. You give us the opportunity to have a ball at our feet every day, and we'd have wiped the floor with a lot of people. Honestly, we played in 2 Women's FA Cup semi-finals. We were League and Cup double winners, and we were a good side, and I was so dedicated. I would never go out on a Saturday night. I wanted to be, fresh for the game on Sunday. I don't know how I got into work some Monday mornings, really, with interesting things. But it's just always been a joy to me. And although we didn't get a lot of support, like say from Lancashire FA back then, excuse me, we still love the game and like family. Oh, excuse me. We never had any opposition from family and friends. We just carried on playing. Excuse me.
Okay.
How embarrassing.
Don't worry, have a drink.
Yeah. So for my own football career, I had a great time. I do wish that we could have had the same opportunities that people have today, because we were a good team, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
That's the most important thing, is that you highlight how you wish you could have done this different and that different, or you wish things had been different, but you enjoyed what you were doing, and that's the most important thing. And I think that's what girls now are thinking. I just enjoy it, and I want to do it, and the fact that they can now see, oh well, I can have a career out of this. I think that's really special. It's
wonderful for them. I would give me right arm to have that, but I console myself with the fact that the Dick Kerr ladies are now getting some limelight, because they were forgotten about for so long. So and that now people do look up to them. They still inspire and give people a bit of a everybody seems to want to know about them now, and I'm delighted for that, because for so long they've been forgotten. Imagine saying to Steph Houghton or Kelly Smith or whatever, but that's it, you're not playing anymore. You'll be forgotten about. Nobody will remember what you've done, and that's it, you're done. And that's what happened to them. So that's although I've got regrets about not having that opportunity myself, at least I've been able to help the Dick Kerr ladies get a bit of recognition.
Yeah, it's like you say, it wouldn't happen. Steph or whoever would turn around and be like, not a chance. You know, we'll crowdfund it, or we'll petition it or whatever. But back then, obviously, when things were a lot stricter, and you're told essentially you shouldn't be doing this, and back to the statement when they said it should be discouraged. It's just it's awful, and you can buy Gail's book on Amazon. It's such a lovely read, and I just wanted to ask a little bit on that. Like, you've obviously dedicated a lot of time to bringing their history to light and saying, well, we need to learn from how the FA acted back then to how supportive they're being now. And how important is it for you to have written that book?
Oh, I'm just so proud, really, that people are getting, wanting to know about them, and they are getting the recognition, because they're just like they're my extended family. Even the people that played at the beginning, I feel like I know them, and I was just so fortunate, really, to meet some of the ladies who actually played before the ban when I started all my research, and becoming friends with people that played just before the Second World War and after. We all got to know one another, and it's important to me that they're remembered. I haven't just written a book and gone away. They are part of my life, and as they've got older and infirm, I would help them claim attendance allowance. I've been to their funerals, and I made a bedside promise to Titch, actually, Joan Burke, who passed away, and I was with her just hours before she died, and I just whispered to her, "I promise you, Titch, I won't let you be forgotten." And she just nodded, and an hour or two later she died. And it's it's a mission in life, really, to keep these women alive and to tell as much about them as I can. And I'm still learning. There's still more to tell, which hopefully next year I'll be able to do that. But it's just so important. I think I might be a champion of injustice as well. I don't like injustice, and what happened to them was a great injustice. And they all deserve the recognition. We've got Lily Parr, who everybody seems to want to know about. Alice Kelly was the first ever captain. Joan Worley played football with Sir Tom Finney. They grew up together playing football. And I like to think, well, I'm sure that Tom was a better player because he played with Joan, and Joan was a better player because she played with him. And they really did. They were good mates. So all of those things are so special to me. They've enriched my life beyond anything I could begin to tell you, and I just want to keep giving back for them, because they deserve it.
Yeah, that's lovely, and it's things like that you don't really think about. That story about Titch has just warmed my heart. Like, that's just so lovely, because she would be so thrilled to see the game flourishing as it is, and sponsors equally covering the men's and the women's. Like the FA Cup's just got a brand new sponsor and stuff, and it's come along such a long way, and there is a long way to go, but the change is just astronomical.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and it's, I think everything changed in 2012, didn't it? London 2012, and because that was the first time we'd had a global audience for women's football in England. Yeah. And it's gone on, from strength to strength since then, and people are recognising that women's football is good, because I defy anybody to tell me that women's football isn't entertaining. You only have to watch and see. And how many people who are my friends who had never watched women's football before, the World Cup in France and all of that, they were watching it and saying how much they'd enjoyed it. They'd never seen it before, and they would go again. And that's fantastic, and that we get more television coverage now, which it's all got to help, hasn't it? To get it out there to the masses. The media can play a real good positive part for us. So yeah, we have come a long way, and it's fabulous. I love Kelly Smith. I think she's brilliant.
Oh yeah, don't we all? But it's these big players like Kelly and Alex Scott. Obviously, I think she's arguably possibly one of the biggest in the limelight at the moment. Especially with the backlash. Well, it's not even backlash. It's just unwanted comments about the link to a job she might be getting, and just the fact she's blowing people out the park with, you know, she dominated the playing stage, and now she's dominating the punditry stage, and I'm not sure what it is. It's like you said, people. What do you say? Sorry.
Jealousy.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Woman, you know, and she's very good at what she does. Nobody can take that away from her. She's a brilliant pundit. She researches everything. I've never seen her make a mistake. She knows it's all there. Yeah. And she was a great player. I saw her, you know, several times playing for England, and she was a really good player, and she deserves everything. And the people that want to knock Alex or any of our girls, it's just jealousy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's like, it is jealousy, but it's also, if you actually listen to her, you'd see you're making a fuss over nothing. And it's the people you say, if they watch the game, they think, oh, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the people that they don't watch and they see maybe like one mistake that's been put on Twitter and they're like, oh, this game's crap. It's like, well, if you actually watch a game, you'll see that it's not.
Of course, yeah. I can remember saying that to my nephew's friends when I was playing back in the 80s. You know, they were saying, oh, women shouldn't play. Well, come and watch us. Come down to our game on Sunday and come and see. And one of his mates, he was right, you know, swagger, and he had a dicky on. And they came down to watch our match and they loved it. You know, they changed their opinion, and that's what happens. And that's the important thing, is changing people's opinion. That when I go around doing talks about the Dick Kerr ladies and telling the story, and grown men come to me afterwards with tears in their eyes, and they just said, I didn't realise. You know, it's changed my opinion. I didn't realise. And if I can just change one opinion every time, then it's a pebble in a pond. And you know, it is, as going back to what I said earlier, is, you know, educating people about the history, and let's just move forward. And, you know, we all live on this earth together. Let's just all get on. And if women want to play football, let them, and stop doing them down.
Exactly. And that's one thing I think you said. Obviously, the media play a big part, and that's what I and the other guys at the Hub and many other people try and do, is all different ways of the media. Obviously, your book and the TV coverage and podcasts, all sorts. It's integral for teaching people, because obviously you want to cater to the diehard women's football fans.
Yeah.
Then me and Drew try and sprinkle a bit of not men's football trivia, but kind of like, if someone's listening for the first time, it's like, okay, so this player is kind of like this player in the men's game. So then they would think, oh, okay. And it's trying to change their perception and just teaching them. It's like teaching them a brand new thing. And you've got to be patient with some people. If you expect someone to just think, I've never watched this game and I'm going to see this and automatically love it, you've got to have the patience to want to help people love our game, because it deserves to be loved.
Of course it does, yeah. And as long as I've got breath in my body, you know, I'll keep banging the drum, not just for the Dick Kerr ladies, but for women's football in general. You know, I just love the game. I love women's football, and, you know, the sooner we can all get back watching it again, the better. I can't be doing it on telly with no it's not right, is it? You know?
No. I mean, so many people were saying it's strange watching Arsenal with no Maria. You know.
Yeah, it's not. It's just not right, and you know that all the noises are fake, and it really bugs me, you know. So sooner we can all get back to that, the better.
Definitely, and it's untold times at the moment, so we aren't sure. But aside from fans, is there anything you think people aren't doing enough of to help promote the game?
It's getting more and more now. You know, we're getting more media coverage, and you know, what more can we do? I think schools are important, and, you know, getting kids playing, and rather than having academies, you know, where parents have got to run around taking them everywhere and stuff. I think in the school, if we had more in schools, you know, like that, rather than having to be like at Preston North End Academy or Blackburn Rovers Academy or whatever. I think schools, you know, we could. I don't really know the ins and outs of it all, but I just feel like get it right at the very beginning, and once people grow up with it, you know, that's the best way forward. I remember when I was involved many years ago, there was a lady called Flo Bilton, and she worked tirelessly for women's football. She was on the women's football, WFA committee, Women's Football Association back then, and it was her goal to get girls to play football in school. Well, in those days, you were really up against the tide.
Yeah.
But now I think the more we can encourage it in schools, girls playing, and the better we'll grow. And then you talk about the investment. The only way you get playing football is to play it and keep playing it, and then you get better. It's like with any sport, isn't it? You've got to start young. Tennis players, everything. So if we can recognise that and nurture it from a really early age, because lots of kids want to play early on. So I think it's that nurturing and educate them as well. And everybody loves the Dick Kerr lady story, and get them into that and just saying, if they can do it, why can't I? And then when it really was difficult, travel. No mobile phones or anything, and they did all of that. So they are a great inspiration. So yeah, the nurturing at school, I think, is for me one of the best ways to go. And then of course get media on board, but that's coming more and more as we go along. It's people like yourself and Drew who work so hard and to get the word out there, and Gary at Manchester City, all these kind of people. It's drip feeding it, and we just have to keep plugging away, and we will get there.
Yeah, and it's you've just said, back then when the Dick Kerr ladies were told they can't play, that would have been obviously crushing for the team, but then for the little girls in school who have been told, oh yeah, there's no football, so don't try and play it. That must have been so disheartening, because obviously now there's more chance of a career, but even for girls who just wanted a little bit of a kickabout, to be told you can't really do that, it must have just been, I can't imagine what that must have felt like.
Well, I grew up with it, so it was awful. That's how it was. When I was in junior school, we had the girls' playground and the boys' playground, so you weren't allowed to mix, at playtime and stuff like that. And when I went to secondary school, you weren't allowed to play, except, boys might have a tennis ball in playground, so you'd join in a bit with them, but you just couldn't do it. And netball and hockey, and I hated netball and hockey with a passion. I wanted to play football, so there were nowhere to go. So thank God for those pioneers who got the league going. Back in the Northwest League was formed in 1971. And thank God for them, because I started playing then, and I said before, the first time I played it, we were wonderful, playing for a proper team. I mean, you can't put that into words. But like I said, there were nowhere to go, so I joined the army, and I was away for 3 years. Well, you can't keep up you need to keep playing, don't you, every day, and so you come back. And I went back into football when I came back, and did a lot. I have always worked hard for women's football. We were all self-funded. I was an officer on the league for many years, and I used to organise an international women's football tournament, the Lancashire Trophy, and we had teams from everywhere: Sweden, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Ireland, Scotland. They all came to this football tournament in just outside of Preston, and everybody loved it. And people who played in it and still remember it today, they talk about it with such love and affection, and that makes me very proud. And that's where the Dick Kerr ladies were reunited as well. So we all have this. We're just a big family. I think we are a women's football family, and they were good days. So I have a lot to be thankful for, but I've also think, what if only. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I've always done my best for women's football, and I always will. Like I say, as long as I've got breath in my body, I'll always be there flying the flag.
No, you're doing a fantastic job, honestly. And it's like you said, we are one big family. I think that's something the men's side doesn't really have, or it has lack of, because I feel like the beauty of this game is that you kind of know everyone.
Yeah.
You cross paths so much, and it's like I've met some brilliant people, and like I've been to a men's game and I've seen maybe somebody and thought, oh, they were cool, and I'll never meet them again.
Yeah.
But in the women's game, it's so linked. Everybody's always crossing, and I just think that's a really good thing we need to keep hold of and encourage.
Yeah, and that's why you want to keep that, because it's special, don't you? You know, you don't want to lose that. And sometimes if it gets too much money, or will we lose that? Do you know what I mean? Because we've had to fight. It has been a fight for a long time. Is it? Let's keep it special, and hopefully it'll last.
Yeah, because it's a conundrum, isn't it? It's like, on the one hand, we want the coverage and the funding and we want to be huge, but then on the other, it's like, I want this little family that we've got.
Yeah. Can you have one without the other? I don't know, is it? But it is special, and it's wonderful. I was coming home from London one time on the train, and Kelly Smith was on, and bumped into Kelly, and it was nice that you get. Well, she knew who I was. I was amazed that she knew who I was, and it's lovely that you can, because they do. That's what I love about women's football as well. After the match, the girls will stay and talk to the kids and have the photos took with them and sign the programs and everything, and it's really special. And the kids love that, and it matters. That little bit of, being able to meet your idol and stuff. It matters. There's only women's footballers that I go gaga about, I've met loads and loads of people in my life, but women's football, I think it's because they're doing what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. But we have got it. It is a family, and it's lovely.
Yeah, it's like you said about the players. It's quite. All you have to do is maybe message one and say, "Oh, do you fancy a little chat?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'll sort that for you." It's just it's so easy.
Lovely.
But it's like you said, can we have both, or does it have to be one or the other? I mean, I'm sure time will tell, and I think the sad reality is that more footballers will be forced to kind of have a management do their social media rather than themselves. But for now, we need to keep hold of the fact that players will just reply to your tweets, and because that's such a big thing. And fans, like you said, you love it when players like know you and speak to you and stuff. So when they speak to these younger kids or even just these diehard fans, to see them going crazy, like, oh my God, like Rachel Daly just liked my tweet, and it's just, I love it.
I get like that, and I'm an old woman, and I'm, she liked me tweet. Billie Jean King sometimes likes my tweets, and I'm just about that.
I think I'd have to have a sit down if that happened to me. But even in the job that we do, and obviously we're supposed to be calm and collected in these things, but at the end of the day, we've got so much love for these players that even when they're like, yeah, I'll speak to you, you're a bit like, oh, okay.
It's amazing. But how great that we can talk like this, that they are well known, and because nobody gives tuppence about us.
No, well, exactly, and it just goes to show that it is on such a big upwards trajectory. And I just wanted to ask, when the ban was lifted, what was just how did everybody feel?
They were devastated, they were angry, of course. And I remember talking to Alice Norris, because she played, before the ban, and she just said that she thought that they were jealous because they were getting bigger crowds than some of the men. Because in 1920, the Football League was expanded. It practically doubled. They had a new Division 3 North and South, and they had to populate more, more spectators to go to these games. So they were devastated, and it was a killer blow. Lots of clubs fell by the wayside, that's what makes the Dick Kerr ladies special, is that they carried on playing right through to 1965. So it was a case of I imagine like, we're going to carry on anyway, and which is what they did, and they carried on raising money, playing for charity all those years.
One thing is, obviously, we've talked about how amazing the sport is doing at the moment, but there are clubs and especially during the pandemic, because obviously finances are very tough. For lower league teams, I have seen they've had to fold their women's side. I know Fylde they changed their mind, but they did eventually fold their women's side. And I think maybe because I don't think they expected so much uproar, because they did, but they've reverted their decision. Yeah,
because they were Preston Rangers. That's who I used to play for. They were. And if I'd have still been there, I wouldn't have let them go. I'd have told them to stay where they were, because as soon as anything goes wrong, women's team's first out the door, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have let him go if I'd still have been involved, but I wasn't, and I keep my fingers crossed for them that it'll be okay, because they've got a lot of history. They really go back to being one of the founding members of the Northwest Women's Football League. So sorry, I interrupted you then, but
no, honestly, I didn't mean to worry you.
I thought they'd gone again then, because
no.
It matters, I was gutted when they said that they'd folded, and because I think of all those years that we all played together, and obviously not them, but the history of it all, and it was just so sad, and I'm chuffed to bits when they got back together. Yeah,
we were as well, because we spent a day with Filed, kind of doing some behind the scenes things, and it really opened our eyes on the lower league teams and how they're not getting the stuff that WSL sides are doing, but Filed are a good club that let them use the men's facilities and stuff. And obviously when we saw the news, we were gutted and delighted again to see that they'd gone back on a decision and said, no, we're going to keep it going. But some clubs haven't been as lucky, and some have been forced to fold, and some big clubs too, like Notts County are no more, and that's a big worry, I think, especially in the current climate. Are more going to kind of go that way?
It's looking, Chorley ladies had a lot of bother as well, with playing at Chorley men, and then they sort of party company, and fortunately they're still going. They've got a lot of grit at Chorley. So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. But the longer this situation goes on, the worse it's going to get, and you worry. You do. I worry, like for Preston North End. There's no spectators coming in. The catering. I had a big dinner planned for December to celebrate the centenary of the Goodison match. You wouldn't believe who will come into this dinner, and I'd worked so hard. Honestly, for the last 18 months, I've been working so hard to get people there, and now we can't do it.
Yeah.
And the staff, most of them have been made redundant, and what's going to happen? Just what is going to happen? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's tough times, really tough. But I'm happy to be able to go onto a nicer subject, because we've actually got the co-founders of the summit, Marios and Agis here, who are going to give us some exciting news.
Hello, Gail. Hello, Georgia. It's such a pleasure to see you both. Agisilaos in Athens. How are you, Agisilaos?
Good afternoon, good morning, Marios. Good afternoon, ladies. Nice to meet you, Georgia, Gail.
Hello.
We're very proud of having you in the 2020 online Athens WFS. Congratulations for your great conversation.
Thank you very much.
No, you know what? The reason we're joining you right now is first of all, thank you, Georgia, for a fantastic interview. This is a great joy. It's amazing to have her Football Hub as a strategic partner of the Athens Women's Football Summit. And Gail, how inspiring! The whole football world and society owes you so much for the great work that you've done over the years to help people understand that women's football has a rich and lengthy history that people must understand. If you don't know, and we, Agisilaos and I, as Greeks especially, understand the importance of history. If you don't understand your history, you don't know what you're talking about. And when we talk to corporations, when we talk to potential sponsors and investors of the women's game, we remind them that women's football has a history as old as the men's game. And we tell them about exactly the type of things that you have informed the world of through your research and your conversations with these incredible heroines, these pioneers of the women's game. So what we're going to do now is, the reason we're here is twofold. First of all, we would like to officially announce to the world that the Athens Women's Football Summit is going to form an international women's football historical society. And we would like you to be the first member. That's number one. Number two, what do you think of that, Gail?
Wow. I don't know what to say. Wow, it's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for, I'm just an ordinary lass who loves football, and anything that I can do to promote the game, I will. So it's just an honour, and thank you for the kind things that you say. I'm get embarrassed, really. As I say, I'm just an ordinary lass. So, but yeah, thank you so much. That's amazing. I don't know what to say.
The history of women's football is the most important heritage to the society, because we should capitalize. We should have this capital for planning the future along with you. We are very proud with Marius, with our partners. We think about all the last months, but we choose the right time. Maybe the right time is now, beginning from now, from you, from Georgia, from Gail. You are more than welcome in Athens, in the third Athens Women's Football Summit. Probably we will have you, and we are open to share this initiative with great partners, great friends, and both of you are the first to come in Athens to celebrate this initiative.
Wow. Incredible. Thank you.
So you heard it right here. The next Athens Women's Football Summit happening in Athens next year. Both of you are the first people that we're inviting, and we can't wait to host you in gorgeous Athens and to show you one of the great capitals of the world.
Oh, thank you.
Thrilled. Thank you.
We thank you.
So Georgia and Gail, we turn this back to you. Georgia, thank you for hosting this wonderful conversation, and Agisilaos and I turn it back to you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
You too.
It's been wonderful to chat, and honestly, I could sit here all day because there's so much to discuss, and I feel like there should be kind of like an hour-long podcast just dedicated to the Dick Kerr ladies. But unfortunately, we are at the time where we do have to wrap up. But Gail, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us, and obviously the exciting news that Marios and Agisilaos have just given us. It's going to give us more chance to home in on the rich heritage and history of this sport, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it and see you become a part of it as well.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Georgia. And it's been lovely to talk to you. I hope to meet you in person sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely.
When you see him.
Of course I will, of course. Well, well, thank you all for tuning in, and it's been a whirlwind of a summit, but we've got more to come today, so make sure you keep your eye on the Twitter and the Facebook of the Athens Women's Football Summit. There's more to come, and obviously next year, hopefully, we will be bringing it live from Greece. So take care, and thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye, everyone. Bye.